All right, y'all. Yo, what's up? Welcome to another episode of a Hard Knock podcast, yo. What's good? It's your boy Ryan here, owner, founder, Hard Knock Labs. And we're back here. It is the week after Thanksgiving, Black Friday, after the festivities. How was y'all's holiday? I hope y'all had a great time with friends and family and was able to, enjoy, everything that it's supposed to be. Yeah, I don't know. My favorite holiday is actually Thanksgiving. Nothing to do with like the whole colonizer thing. It's just that I love food and I love the opportunity of spending time with friends and family and people that I'm close to. And so, it's my favorite holiday for that reason. But I'm going to tell y'all, this year, 2023, been kind of ghetto. I ain't going to hold you. It's been a little ghetto. Got some family stuff, you know what I'm saying? We spent it a little bit differently this year, so it makes it a little bit weird. The food we had, Cracker Barrel food, which is cool, but it's not the same thing, you know what I'm saying, as eating a home-cooked meal. And typically, I normally will host and actually cook myself, and do like a Friendsgiving here. But, they ruined that last year, man. Like, they burnt my rug with hookah charcoals because they were drinking too much, and I had to clean up like someone missed the toilet bowl when they were peeing, and I had to clean that up. And I'm like, man, we are too old to be dealing with any of that. So, all my friends, they lost Ryan cooking for Thanksgiving privileges. And honestly, I just wasn't really feeling all that festive this year. So I decided to drive back home to kick it with the fam. So as y'all know, I'm in Chicago, and I decided to go to my hometown of Cincinnati, Ohio. So it's about a 5-hour drive. And when I was on my way there, first off, my dad hits me up. My dad texts me the night before, and he's like, what time are you planning on being here? Because I'm driving the day of Thanksgiving because I had to go get my I put some stuff off. I had to get my oil change, all of that stuff on Wednesday. So I was like, I'm just gonna drive up the day of, plus I just like being at home. And so I decided I was gonna leave like first thing in the morning on Thursday, get there just in time for dinner, thinking that dinner would probably be like, it's normally early on a holiday, so I was thinking like maybe 4:00. My dad texted me the prior day talking about what time you plan on coming, what time are you going to get here. We're going to have dinner at 1 p.m. And I'm like, 1 p.m.? I'm like, Dad, that's literally lunchtime. And given my time difference, that's actually lunchtime. Like, that's literally noon for me. And I'm like, I was planning on leaving first. I was planning on leaving in the morning at 9, and that would have got me there, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, and then add a buffer 3. I was like, well, I was thinking of getting there around 3. And he's like, oh, okay. But I'm like, I'll try to leave a little bit earlier. He's like, all right, well, we can push it to 3 to make sure you can make it. So I'm like, all right. But then that kind of put a fire under me. I was like, all right, let me pack up all my stuff on Wednesday night, make sure that everything's ready so that I can get up first thing in the morning and hit the road. So I ended up hitting the road about 7:40. 7:40 is when I got on the road. And honestly, there was zero traffic at all. It was the most beautiful thing ever. I've never hit in that drive and there's no traffic. I guess it's because I drove literally the day of, and it was nice. It was beautiful. And I did something different this time. Typically when I'm driving, I like to throw on Selection Radio. Shout out to Joe K out there with Selection Radio. That's just my vibe. Just a few episodes, about two hours an episode. So I normally, just a couple episodes of that will get me through my whole trip, right? But this time I decided, remember a few episodes ago, I've been thinking about like, what am I consuming? Like, how can I like use some of that time that I'm spending listening to music to actually kind of, you know, help me level up or help me inspire me and stuff like that. So I finally started listening to a book that my cousin over there, Alex, at No Pressure, No Diamonds podcast, check him out. He recommended to me a while back this book called Chop Wood, Carry Water by Joshua Medcalf. So I listened to that on the way there. I also shout out to Deeper Than the Brand. Before I went. So on Wednesday, I joined one of their in the Deeper Than the Brand communities. I joined the call for the book club because I was just curious what they were reading, and they were like, "Oh, we're going to starting next week. We're going to be talking about Still Like an Artist by Austin Kleon," and yeah, who has the book? And I have the book. I read it forever ago, barely remembered it, but I was like, I have that book. So I was like, yeah, I got the book. And then they started putting me on blast, like, yo, Ryan, what's up, man? We ain't never seen you here for the book club. And I was like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I never came to the book club. I was just popping in, seeing what y'all were doing. And then they're like, nah, like, we're excited to have you. Like, we starting this book next week. We got to see you there. Wednesday, 6 p.m. You there. He literally spent, like, I swear he spent like 15 minutes talking directly to me on this live. And I'm just like, dang, bro. Like, I'm like, dang, bro. Like, I guess like this peer pressure is outrageous. But I'll do it, you know what I'm saying? It ain't nothing to me to join a book club, you know what I mean? Read a book I already got, commune and talk to people. I love all of that. But I was just like, dang, bro. Like, you put on spot and you low-key embarrassed. Fortunately, I'm not on camera in this thing. But I'm just like, dang, bro. Like, all right. So I was like, all right, after I finished that book, Chop Wood, Carry Water on the way, I was like, oh, you know what? Let me go ahead and just throw this book on, Still Like an Artist. And it turns out they got the whole trilogy on Audible. So it includes Still Like an Artist, Show Your Work, and Keep Going. All three books by Austin Kleon, which I said I have Still Like an Artist, but I actually didn't have, I didn't have nor have I read Show Your Work or Keep Going. So that was really interesting being able to listen to those. So those are the two books that I listened to on my way to Cincy, and really enriched it. You know, it was really, really cool. And I'm going to get into some of them a little bit. And then on the way back home, because while I was in Cincy, I copped a few books. I made some time and went to the bookstore. I went to a bookstore on Black Friday. It was just like a local one. They tried to make me a member. I was like, I don't even live here, y'all. But, oh, that's crazy. They're the same publisher. I walked in, I went to the bookstore on Black Friday. I thought it was going to be a Black Friday sale. I spent all this time looking at books and all this stuff. There wasn't no sale. It is what it is. But I ended up looking at like 5 different books, spent some time there reading them over, looking over like the introductions and stuff, and deciding which ones I was going to make my purchases. And the ones I ended up buying were The Unfair Advantage, How You Already Have What It Takes to Succeed. This is by Ash Ali and Hasan Kubba. Then I got See, Solve, Scale, How Anyone Can Turn an Unsolved Problem into a Breakthrough Success by Danny Warshay. And then I also got Black Founder, The Hidden Power of Being an Outsider by Stacy Spikes, founder of MoviePass. And so, yeah, y'all, I was like, I got these books, and I was like, all right, which one that I can start to try to tackle? So I started reading The Unfair Advantage while I was away, while I was in Cincinnati, and I threw it on the audio book while I was driving back home. And like, I'm just really excited about this, y'all, because at the beginning of the year, I set a goal to read a book a month. So 12 books over the course of the year. And I was doing, like, at the beginning of the year, I was hitting the ground running. Like, I was reading a book and a half, you know, each month. Like, I was just chucking through, you feel me? And then, you know, life starts to happen. You start falling back, missing stuff. Not, you know, there were a couple months that I actually didn't read any books. But after this trip, y'all, I hit 12 books. Y'all. I'm super proud of myself because, like, it's not even December yet. I skipped a few months. It's not even December yet. I'm already into some more books, and so I already hit my goal for the year. I'm hype about that, y'all. Like, and this episode right now is I just want to kind of talk to y'all, you know, about what's kind of inspiring me right now based off of what I read. I'm gonna talk about a few different books, and they're all on different levels, but I think as I apply some of this stuff a little bit more in the future, I'm probably going to go a little bit deeper, or I might mention some of these things a little bit more. And I think I'm just going to start talking about this because I love reading and taking all this stuff in. Like in The Unfair Advantage, they talked about a type of learner style that they called a Y learner. And it's people that are really excel at learning when they understand why it's applicable or why it's practical. And typically those people might struggle a little bit in school because, like, in school, they're just like, you should just learn this because, you know, you're going to need to know it, or this is what's going to be on the test. You know what I'm saying? But that's not really that beneficial in the long run. And I was like, you know, I was an AB honor roll student, per se. There are a couple ones that didn't hit that, but it wasn't till like this kind of stuff. This is the kind of stuff I excel in because, like, I am genuinely interested in what these books have to talk about because, like, I like to apply this stuff to my life and to what I'm doing. But yeah, let's kind of just get into some of these things, like, and you know, I'll see if I could throw some links for y'all to check out some of these books. But let's go into like Chop Wood, Carry Water by Joshua Medcalf. I wish I had like the actual book so I could show you. I have the book on my iPad and I listen to it through audiobook or Audible. And yo, this book is easy. I tell you, like, every chapter was about like 3 to 4 minutes long in the audiobook. So I just know, like, I'm actually planning on, because I like to hold physical books, and I like to be able to come back to them and grab them out of my bookshelf and reference them and, like, you know, underline stuff and stuff like that and come back to it. So I'm planning on actually buying the actual book. But so I imagine it's very small, because it's about 30 chapters, but each chapter, like I said, is very short. I think I got through it in about 2.5 hours. And this book is really interesting because it talks about this main character. His name's John. It's a modern day man named John. And his brother had some type of accident. I can't remember the exact accident, but it has to do with a certain type of disability that makes it, you know, difficult for him, you know. And something that they always bonded about as kids was samurais. They loved samurais, and they were just so interested in them. They loved them. That's something that they would even bond over through his brother's disability. And when he became adult and got older, he decided to actually take the trek and go to Japan and study at a dojo and learn to become a samurai archer. So, you know, bows and arrows. And this book talks about a lot of the teachings and learnings that he got from his sensei, Akira, through his 10-year stint at this dojo, about falling in love with the process as opposed to falling in love with the end goal at the end. And what's up with this fall in love stuff? Because the last episode was talking about falling in love with the problem, not the solution. This one is about falling in love with the process, not the goal. And it was just really speaking to me, y'all. Like, I am like a type A Capricorn. Like, I am all about the goal. I'm all about, you know what I'm saying, achieving stuff. Like, I even was just talking to someone about how so much so is kind of toxic that like my personal feelings of self-worth and ego are very much attached to my ability to make goals and accomplish them. And it's like I said, it's toxic. It's not good. I probably should talk to somebody about that. But I really felt like this book was talking to me about that, because there was a part in the book where the sensei was talking about, Akira was talking about when he was younger, and he had a huge crush on this woman, and he ended up being able to, you know, like they're together, right? He ends up getting the girl, they get together, and he decides that he's gonna take her to Croatia. That's somewhere that she always wanted to go. So he takes her on a trip to Croatia, and while they're there, they find out about this magnificent mountain. Everyone's saying, you gotta check out this mountain, you gotta check out this mountain, right? And so they plan it out that the last day they're there, they're gonna go and get to this mountain. Turns out that it was pretty much gonna be impossible for them to get to this mountain. But he was so fixated on getting to that mountain that over the course of it, he ended up getting really irritated. You know, he puts himself in danger. He ends up leaving his girl behind to try to get to this mountain, and does all of this stuff, and ultimately doesn't even make it to the mountain. And in the process, loses the girl, puts himself in harm, does all these bad things, you know, instead of just enjoying the trip and enjoying the space and enjoying what he's doing. And I was like, whoa, I literally have done that. Like, I've done that. Maybe not specifically a mountain, but I've been that person. I've definitely, like, I become a brat when things aren't going right, when I set a plan and people are messing it all up, and like I become a brat, yo. Like that is me. Any of my friends that are listening to this are gonna like double tap that. Like they're gonna know. Like they're gonna be like, yeah. Like there have been several times that like I've like thrown a full-on tantrum in the midst of a really great experience just because of like not being able to achieve whatever it is that I'm trying to achieve. You know, I remember an ex who was very particularly good at like dealing with me when I'm like bugging out about something. God bless her. But I remember the one time that she was like, yo, I'm not dealing with this. And it was because we were like we were going through a one of those escape rooms, and just like 2 weeks prior, I did like my first escape room with like my coworkers who were all like engineers, you know what I'm saying? So we're all like engineers, and we got through this thing in like record time. So like, I was like, man, that was so cool. That was so fun. Like we got through this thing in record time. And then I did a double date with my shorty and my guy, who's actually my coworker too. So he was part of it in the previous one, him and his girl. And we not only did we not make it out in record time, we didn't make it out. I was so upset. I was just like, yo, what the heck? Like, and it was so funny because I threw like this little tantrum, and I mean, it's funny in retrospect. At the time, like, it's actually pretty pitiful. I really need to grow up. But she was like, she went to my boy Lukman and his girl and was like, yo, honestly, let's just leave him here. I can't even blame her, yo. Like, I was tripping. Lord help me deal with that. But this is him speaking to me with this book. Dang, that's crazy. That's him talking to me through this book, Chop Wood, Carry Water. And so it really just spoke to me about like kind of losing that, not to say drive, or like, I think drive and ambition is very good, but like there's something to learning, to really just appreciating the day-to-day monotonous things that will take us to our goal, as opposed to getting obsessed with the goal. I think it's really great to make goals and try to, you know, set something that you want to ultimately achieve. but learning like what are the day-to-day things. In this case, in this book, was to chop wood, literally. So they had to chop wood and carry water every day, because while this is modern day, the place where they're living in this dojo, it doesn't have heat and they don't have fresh water. So every single day, everybody in this entire community chops wood and carries water. But what's so interesting about it is that these things, these very little steps that they were doing just to fulfill their lives, actually played a major role in their ability to excel in whatever things that they were learning, archery, sword play, all that kind of stuff. And it makes me really think about what are the rituals, what are the daily rituals that we might not even be thinking about that much, but like if we continue through them and if we're consistent with them, will ultimately give us the success and goals that we want to achieve. And how can we just do those things with the most amount of care and the most amount of attention to detail, and how can we just do those things with so much pride and joy that we're ultimately going to reach our goals and even go further than that, just because like we are just painstakingly like down with just doing those day-to-day things. And I think in business, and this is me trying to bring it back to like Hard Knock Labs and what I'm all about and what my process is and what I stand for, is that experimentation. Hard Knock Labs is called Hard Knock Labs because it's all about experimentation. It's all about trial and error. It's about trying things, seeing what works. And, you know, all of it is typically in the goal of helping you get PMF, like I was talking about in the last episode, product market fit. But even after product market fit, where you're even just tweaking stuff within your business and you're, you know, applying this, I think learning to love that because of the learning around it, the experience around it, and just like, you know, throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what happens, and even we could talk about the monotonous kind of part of that. Is like that even when you're doing experiments, it's not when you're testing solutions, a lot of people, getting back to fall in love with the problem, not the solution. A lot of people really get caught up falling in love with the solution or the idea that they have. And then when that idea doesn't work, they're devastated, right? But when you take that away and you're just focused on, man, we're just testing stuff out. We're interfacing with our customers. We're learning our customers. We're just learning about them, and we're shifting. It doesn't matter what the solution is. All that's mattering is that you're doing that on a regular, constant basis, and you're making that the DNA of your business and how you work. And I think that all the companies that are really doing it, that are really doing their thing, that's what they do. You know, like the best designs, like we talk about Apple, we talk about Netflix, we talk about all these things that really have product market fit that we recommend to each other. They do a really good job of interfacing with their customers and understanding them and learning them. And they fall in love with learning about their customers. And I don't know, that is not what the book says. Chop wood, carry water. It's all about just falling in love with the process as opposed to the goal. But that's my way of applying it to this work around, you know, creating businesses that make real impact. Like if you really fall in love with like the people that you're trying to impact, I think doing these things for them and doing those steps and getting really good at experimentation and testing stuff and, you know, and trying new ideas and thinking outside of the box. I think those small things over the course of time and doing them frequently is really going to help as you know, just go on this entrepreneurial journey. So yeah, that was the Chop Wood, Carry Water. Like I said, Chop Wood, Carry Water by Joshua Medcalf. Definitely recommend that book. I love that. I buying that book because I really want to be able to page through and just like, you know, check it out and reference it again. Still Like an Artist. I have it up there. I have it up there on my bookshelf. I'm just gonna take this thing. I don't want to take this thing off, but my shirt's getting all messed up because I keep pulling this. This is actually by a local Chicago person. I wish I had their info because I just saw them at a party and I was like, I like that. Let me buy it. But it's called Sky Drip. But what was I saying? Oh, Still Like an Artist. I have the book. I would show it, but the thing is, actually, the book looks kind of gross and stuff because I've had this book for a long time, and I let a friend borrow it, and I guess she like dropped it in a puddle or something. So I'm gonna buy a new one. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna gift it to a friend. I'm not gonna say the friend because he's probably gonna watch this, and I don't want him to know that he's getting it. He's probably gonna figure it out once I talk about what this book is. But Still Like an Artist. I am so happy that I just went back through that book, because it kind of reconfirmed some things that I'm already doing, but it was like also reminding me of some other things that I haven't been doing. I'm like, oh, I should get back to doing that, and I think it also made me think about how, like I talked about on my episode with Terry, how there's this. How we're talking about creatives in the sense of entrepreneurs. And I think this is really interesting, but also like this book made me kind of reaffirm that a little bit for me too, because in what we do, I don't like when we sit here and talk about creatives like as an entity, as like oh, you're a creative, because I actually think that in any position, especially any thought work position, but even not even just in thought work, I think there are creative elements to it. And if you're any good at your job, you're creative in how you do it. Because and creativity to me is really just applying things from outside of that domain to that domain, you know? And it's about, like, the whole premise of the first book in this trilogy, Still Like an Artist, is that nothing is original. Nothing is original. If somebody says something is original, that just means that they don't know who they got it from. And I think when you realize that, like, I think it should open doors up for you and also make you feel a little bit better about the ideas that you do have, because everything is borrowed. Everything is borrowed. Like I'm telling you, like, but what's really interesting as artists is that being able to pull ideas from other domains is what's crazy. How can I learn something from nature and apply it to business? How can I learn something from a marine biologist and apply it to digital product design? This stuff happens all the time. But the only way that you'll really be able to do that is by having a bank of these different ideas and walking around the world with curiosity and paying attention to these different details and things around you. And what I loved about that book is it talked about just, you know, several practical things that you can do to start to have that bank and have those things that you can draw inspiration from. Something that I do is typically, because I never leave the house, y'all. I'm keeping it a full bean. I am outwardly presenting as an extrovert, but like high key, like I like to be by myself. So, but when I do leave the house, I take a small, I don't have it sitting near me. It's in my book bag over there, but a small notebook, you know, and on the front of the notebook, I say, stay curious on the cover of it. But this is my notebook where I just write down ideas that I have, random ideas. I sketch in there. It's random. But I do that as I catch inspiration or have ideas while I'm out and about. And I think that's just really good practice that, you know, I recommend to a lot of people. You know, you think about like Da Vinci, all of them, they had sketchbooks where they would do that, you know. And also something he talked about is really collecting trash, like collecting just all kinds of ideas from all these different places and putting them in a place. That's something I used to use Pinterest for a lot, and I should get back into doing that. But also just like being able to collect all these different mediums and all these different things, and then, you know, sitting with them. And, you know, and also he talked about like doing things like, my brain is saying like forms of meditation, but that's not really how I described it in the book. But like taking time and setting a space for doing creative work and all of that. And now I also feel like I'm blurring together because it was a trilogy. There's Still Like an Artist, Show Your Work, and Keep Going. Show Your Work was actually really interesting. And that's actually not one that we're doing in the Deeper Than a Brand book club. But like, I'm going to say like, we should just do all three of these, because Show Your Work is really interesting in this new world that we have around, it's not new anymore, but this world that we have around social media. And what's interesting is like knowing that this is a trilogy talking about being an artist, being a creative, I was like, oh, show your work. It's talking about just like show the finished product, all that kind of stuff. No, actually, it's about showing the process. People are really interested in the process that you take to create your art, to create the things that you share, to create your craft. Like I think about like, you know, I did a post like on my personal page a bit back where I was like, earlier this year, I did a bunch of interviews with marginalized entrepreneurs, just trying to understand their motivations, their needs, their process, all that kind of stuff. What are their challenges? I got a big old whiteboard that I like to use because I'm very tactile, which is something else that they talked about in the book. Closing the screen and using your hands. Like I love using my hands with stuff. I got sticky notes. I got a big old whiteboard. And then what I did was like, when I was doing my research, I was synthesizing all my research. So one way that I like to go about synthesizing, like user interviews is I always record my interviews and I go back to them and I listen to the interviews again with a stack of sticky notes of different colors. Like one color will represent what I call an insight. Something will be pink will be like sentiments, things like feelings, stuff like that. And then I think blue is like ideas. And what I'll do is I'll sit there and listen to the interview. And as I'm listening, I will write down things on these sticky notes. And what I did was I created a time lapse of me doing all of this work, of me, writing, listening to the interviews, writing on the stickies, putting them on my whiteboard, categorizing the whiteboard, all this kind of stuff. And I just created a time lapse of me doing this work. Like I was doing the work. Why not put up a camera and just, record it? And I got so much like so many people were like, whoa, that's cool. Is that what you do every day? This and that. And like, yeah, that's what I do. That's what I do. That's how I work. And people were so interested in that. And I was like, wow. So as I'm reading this book, I'm like, you're right. People like to see the process. You don't necessarily like need to show the end result all the time. And it's good to show the messiness of the process too. And it just really like inspired me a bit. So I think I'll try to get to doing a little bit more of that. Just like taking pictures, kind of reminding myself and to take pictures of my workspace and stuff that I'm working on and show how I'm thinking through it and show some of the rough ideas that I have, because people like that and it kind of gets people invested. So I thought that was really interesting in the Show Your Work book. And then in the Keep Going book was talking about how can you sustain creativity and really embrace the routine of this work? Because again, getting back to the chop wood, carry water, this isn't a goal kind of oriented kind of work. almost, when we talk about creative work, when you start to really put like hard goals and stuff on it, you kind of take the creativity out of it and you start to stifle things. Now, that's not saying he actually, if I want to go back to still like an artist, something that he mentioned, which I think is so true. Whenever I'm leading workshops and stuff like this, I use this. Applying constraints is actually the best thing for artists, for creatives. The hardest blank page to fill out is the page of your wildest dreams, whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? Like if it's all completely open, it's impossible to come up with ideas. But when you start giving constraints around things, that's when your brain starts going. And so, but on the other hand, this work isn't hero's work, you know what I mean? And a lot of it can be very boring, and a lot of it. And so it talked about how can you keep going. And it was talking a lot about making routines around creative work and making it a part of your lifestyle. And I just think there's a lot to take away from that. So honestly, I think whatever craft you do, whatever value you provide, I think I would challenge you to start thinking of yourself as a creative, as an artist in that space, and start trying to use some ideologies from artists to how you do that work and how you share that work and how you keep doing that work and refining it. So that was really interesting. Those were the two books that I read, Chop Wood, Carry Water by Joshua Medcalf, and Still Like an Artist trilogy by Austin Kleon. That was during my trip to Cincinnati. And while I was in Cincinnati, when I bought these books, I was reading The Unfair Advantage by Ash Ali and Hasan Kubba, and I listened to it on the way back. And this book is interesting, y'all. I recommend this one. I recommend all of them. Like, I recommend all of them, but this one is wild because it talks about something that a lot of business books and a lot of self-improvement books don't talk about. And that is luck. And they don't talk about it because it's kind of like demotivating. Because we look at a lot of the, really everyone has these, but we look at like the different inspirational and aspirational, people that we are like, man, we want a business like this, or we want to play ball like them, or we want this and that. Like the people who we want to be wouldn't be where they are if it wasn't for certain privileges that they have. We all have privilege. Everyone has privilege. It's just different kinds. And in this book, it kind of talks about it as far as luck. And it's so true. And I loved how they kind of start the book talking about the owner of Snapchat. Yeah, owner of Snapchat. What's his name? Let me see. His name, Evan Spiegel. He ended up being one of the youngest, what they call the youngest self-made billionaire before Kylie Jenner. He reached $1 billion by the age of 24. But so when people asked him, like, yo, what do you kind of credit this to? And he's like, well, I mean, I just got really, really lucky, and life isn't fair. And I'm like, facts. Because this dude grew up rich family, you know what I'm saying? Not only did he grow up rich family, went to school with and rubbed shoulders with some of the most influential influencers in the world. Some of his mentors were mentors at these top Silicon Valley companies. He had all the things going for him. Like, this dude had it all going for him. Now, that's not taken away from the fact that this man's a hard worker and that he really did what he had to do to make a strong product, but luck was a definite big factor in his success. But also, everyone has some form of luck. And something that was very interesting was that they talked about luck as both the positive and the negative side of it. Being extremely unlucky in certain circumstances can be the thing that helps, that can be your unfair advantage. An example that they gave in the book was Oprah Winfrey, who, if you know anything about Oprah Winfrey's history of her upbringing growing up, she dealt with, sexual abuse as a young child, poverty, all of these different things. So those were some unfair, some unlucky circumstances for her, that would make it very difficult for a lot of people to succeed. And also there were some lucky things about her where, like, her at a very young age, she her grandmother taught her to read the Bible and speak, and they would bring her to all these different churches to speak in front of everyone about the Bible verses that she read, and and that gave her that natural ability to speak in front of an audience. But one of the key things that set Oprah Winfrey apart from all these other TV personalities was her incredible empathy that was rooted in a lot of the, unfortunate things that happened in her life. And if it wasn't for that, who's to say that Oprah Winfrey would be Oprah Winfrey? And so that's what I really thought was really interesting about this book, was that it showed that, like, no matter your circumstances, you can still, with the right mindset, you can still turn it into a W. And what I liked was they created this framework that they called a Miles framework. Let me see if I can find the image of it to help jog my memory. That's why I like to have the physical books, because then I could just like do this and I could just like flip through and be like, oh yeah, this is what I'm talking about. It's literally the only picture that they ever put in the book. Here we go. So Miles, Miles. So there's like what they say 5 different categories of different unfair advantages that you can have for building your business. But one thing about all of these categories that affect whether or not you'll be able to use them to your advantage is the foundation, which is your mindset. Having the right mindset for these different things. And so Miles, these different categories, the first one is M for money, which is a pretty obvious one. If you're rich, you can do a lot more. But each of these categories is a double-edged sword, though, because if you're too rich, you might not be able to, you might be too far off from the people whose problem you're solving. You might be, you might not be able to experience the same things as everyone else. Therefore, your market might be very small. I is for intellect and insight. That's a key thing. That kind of gets back to falling in love with the problem, not the solution. Because when you have insight about a key problem that affects a large market, that's an unfair advantage. Truly understanding that insight and also having the intelligence. And intelligence can come in a lot of different ways, but the intelligence, there's book smarts and there's street smarts. Book smarts is what you can learn from books, what you learn in school. Street smarts is what you learn from experience. And having those different things can be a form of an unfair advantage. Say you got a lot of experience in the area, you're an expert in an area, that gives you an unfair advantage to those who aren't. Say that you have a super high IQ and you catch on to things really quickly, or you're like a engineering genius, right? Those are unfair advantages that you can have or use to your advantage. But they also can be, like I said, that double-edged sword, where say that you are very, you're a really good engineer or whatever, but you lack the ability for social intelligence or emotional intelligence and being able to connect with people. And what I like about this book is it also helps you with this framework, figure out what kinds of things you should look for in a co-founder based off of your personal unfair advantages or disadvantages. The L is for location and luck. And they put those things together because something that kept coming across is being at the right place and at the right time. And I thought this was really interesting because they talked about being able to improve your luck by being in a lot of the right locations, like how to figure out what the right location is and how to be there. So when that time comes, and also just having the mindset to make yourself more, lucky. And then E is for education and expertise. Now, education is formal education, but education is also this, right? This is, or this, education and expertise in an area. And then the S is for status, social status, different things like that. It's pretty self-explanatory. I don't want to get all into it because y'all should really just read this book. But I really appreciate this because as y'all know, I'm mostly interested in helping out marginalized entrepreneurs that are lacking in a lot of these areas. They might be disadvantaged in a lot of these areas. And I love how this book talks about that double-edged sword for a lot of these things. It helps you kind of figure out how can you use those disadvantages to your advantage and help you build the business that business of your dreams. So I really appreciated this book, y'all. So this episode is really just about some things that's inspiring me right now. These books are inspiring me, and I'm hoping that it will encourage you to, pick up a book. Doesn't have to be any of these, but I think it's just a good idea to just, hit the library, hit the bookstore. I love picking up physical books, but even just the audible listening, we all learn very differently. And I think, just doing that can actually really just change our approaches, open our minds, help us think about different things. I would love for y'all to get these books and comment and let me know what you think about it. Let me know what you learned, things you agree with, things you disagree with. I would really be interested. So let me know what you think. Looking ahead, like I said, I'm planning on applying a lot of the stuff that I'm learning from these books into, what I'm doing as I'm continuing to build Hard Knock Labs. And I plan on talking to y'all about it as I continue to do these things. And then this just inspired me to keep on reading. So I started this morning, Black Founder. It's a little bit more, so far I'm in chapter 3, and it's a little bit more autobiographical. But it's really interesting. But I was I kind of need something a little bit more practical as I'm reading this one. So I was I'm going to double up. I'm going to read this. And I'm also got another one just today called The $1 Million Consultancy by Alan Ways. And I love listening to that guy. I got the audiobook and it's him talking, and he just has a vibe about him that I really rock with. So I'll probably share more what I learned from that in the future. I just started that book tonight when I got home from the gym as I was setting up everything for this episode. But also I want to welcome y'all to share with me what's inspiring you right now. Books, audiobooks, podcasts, what's inspiring you? Drop them in the comments. I also even put a question for the Spotify listeners, who's inspiring you right now? What are you reading right now, or listening to? Because I just love this stuff. I'm looking for more books. I think I'm gonna set another goal for next year, maybe even double it up, make it 24 instead of 12. But with that, y'all, I think that's all I wanted to share with y'all today. I hope y'all get some value out of it. But that's enough for this episode, and I'll leave you with that. So thanks, everyone, and I'll see you next week. and happy holidays. Peace.